Hi guys, welcome to another review, and before I start this review I just want to give a big apology, as for the last, I want to say about 7 months, I haven't put anything out on my channel. I've had, stuff going on, I've been busy. I know this has happened in the past and I've used the exact same excuses, excuse me, but this time I want to try and be a bit more serious and get more reviews out, a couple a week at least. And yeah, I thought I'd do a comeback and review something I've never reviewed before, as they're still relatively new. They're, about a year old, but the concept is pretty interesting and brand new, as it's something that hasn't been attempted. It is essentially a scaled down Hot Toys done over by the guys at MEZCO. As you can see, you can also see my very, I don't know how to describe it, iPhone and Blue Tack reviewing station, but until I get a proper camera, this is just how I'm going to have to do it. The MEZCO 112 Mutant Leader. As you can see, you've got your DC Comics there, 112 Collective there, my face there. The Mutant Leader's very nice, Cyclops style visor. In the corner here, you've got the price and the donut returns. This cost me $67.99, just if you're interested. On the bottom, you got this, and once again me, if you're interested in all of that. On the top, you've got 112 Collective again. Sides, you've got that nice junkyard, along with MEZCOtoys.com, Batman the Dark Knight Returns, a very nicely designed box. Dark Knight Returns. Now earlier I said they're trying to be like Hot Toys. In a sense they are, but in a sense they're completely different. For a start, I think the boxes are much nicer. I've actually handled Hot Toys in the past. I don't own any, mind you, but I've handled them, opened them, looked at the box and whatnot, and this one is much more interesting, as Hot Toys typically just have the sculptors and painters on the back of their box. Although I do think they deserve to be on the box because their figures are fantastic. Here's just a few pictures showing what you can do with the figure, interchangeable heads and whatnot, and a couple of poses. And that looks absolutely fantastic. If ever you are struggling for an idea on how to pose these action figures, take a look at the back of the box, people, because it looks awesome. Now, this front bit just slides off like so, revealing more of that junkyard there, which looks very cool. I'm just going to put the thing on the floor there. You can see there, it's more of the junkyard, which is cool. I'm not sure if you saw it earlier, but this cost me $67.99 on the box. Here you have the Mutant Leader. It looks like, come out and face me, old man, or ain't you got the stomach, something like that. He says something, I can't remember exactly, just something stuck there. And it looks like Batman's viewing him through that like periscope thing he has on his tank, so that's pretty cool. Here is where the figure would be. You'd have your figure here, two heads here, two interchangeable hands there. Here you would have that torch that he holds, and here would be the crowbar, and up there behind the figure would be where the stand is. Now I've taken everything out so I can show it all off proper to you. And just before I go on, underneath this tray, which has the action figure and accessories and display stand, on the bottom you get this. I took this out to show you. As you can see, it pops off like that. This is where the flight stand would be, so that's pretty cool. Anyhow, here we have the actual figure. Put him off to the back. Let's see, does he? Yeah, he does. Here we have the display stand, which looks very cool. Has a peg there, which can be popped out from the bottom, and then you can plug the flight stand in, so that's pretty cool. And it's actually translucent there, as you can see, which looks awesome. It's a beautiful display stand. Bit too big for my liking, frankly, but I'll talk more about that in another video. And this is actually painted on the top, or I'm not sure if it's a paint or whatever it is, but it's on the top, which I personally don't like. I'd rather have it on the bottom, as it might get scuffed up easily, as you can see there. I didn't do that, it came like that. It also picks up fingerprints really easily. But yeah, nothing you can do about that. One peg, as you can see. And these figures also come with a little plastic bag, which you can house the accessories in. Now, most of the time I just leave the accessories in the box, but for the purpose of this I decided to put them in here and show them to you. I'm not sure why it comes with this. Maybe some people want to throw their box out. I don't know why. I mean, why pay so much for an action figure if you're just going to throw the box out? But here we have the flight stand, which also fits in there, which is very cool. It has some screws here so you can tighten it, as they do come a bit loose, as you can see there. This bit twists, and yeah, basically you have something along the lines of that, except this would be straight, and it can hold the figure in here very securely as well. As you can hear, that is quite stiff, so you don't have to worry about it falling over so long as no one's going to run past and knock it. So yeah, that is, although I'm not going to use the flight stand for him, I've used it for one of my Batmans, but yeah, I'm not going to use it for him. Speaking of Batmans, I've had the rest of the accessories out. I have three: the regular black and grey, the PX exclusive one that's like a kind of blue, and the dark blue one. It comes with 4 interchangeable hands, including the ones he has attached to his body. Focus. Bear with me. There we go. You've got a right hand here. No, sorry, that's a left hand with just like an open grip. As you can see there, the fingernails look pretty damn cool. Speaking of which, ignore my thumbs. I have no idea what's going on with them, but yeah, they're not the nicest thumbs. In fact, I'd say this guy has a nicer hand than me. Anyway, you've got some, you know, like detailing just there. It's focusing on my hand and not his. Bear with me. There we go. That's a bit better. You've got like the lines on his palm and everything, which looks really cool. Dirty blackened fingernails, which looks awesome. And here you have a gripping hand. Some paint has rubbed off on the inside of this, I believe, from the torch. I'm not sure though. Maybe it came like this, so I'm not going to blame it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. You've got some veins and stuff running up there, and you've also got the palm detailing on the inside of that as well, which is awesome. You have 3 heads, including the one that's on his head, obviously. You have this one, which is from like the final fight that Batman has with him in the mud hole. Sorry, the operating table. And yeah, it looks pretty cool, as you can see there, with the bandage on his nose because he breaks his nose. And yeah, that looks pretty damn cool. Teeth look excellent. I really do like the way the teeth look there. Once again, let me just try and get better focus. There you go. That looks awesome. You've even got his like brow all clenched up and whatnot. Then you have another one. This is the head I'm displaying with. It's basically the visor, which is also see-through. I'm not sure if you can make out the eyes, but it looks cool. You've got his tongue, his teeth, he's screaming. It looks awesome. Once again, the visor, or sunglasses, whatever you want to call them. It looks really, really cool. And I'll just quickly talk about the one that comes on the figure as well. This is the one that comes within the box. It has the horns on the head, which are very, very sharp. So I'd recommend caution. And it is essentially exactly the same as this, except the brow is sculpted a bit differently and the mouth is shut. Both are amazing. I just prefer the open mouth. Really cool, that is. And his final 2 accessories are a crowbar, which he uses in the junkyard when he fights Batman, which looks awesome. Looks like an actual rusted piece of metal. Got a little bit of, I'm not sure if that's intentional on the side, but it looks like, dear, let's try and get this to focus in. There we go. It kind of looks intentional, but at the same time I'm not sure whether it was just a sculpting mishap. And yeah, regardless, that looks pretty cool. And he can hold it in his one hand, as the other one can't really hold it. And yeah, the hands are a bit tight, so it's a bit hard to slide it in. And I don't want to try and rub any more paint off, but let's just try it like that. Yeah, he'd hold it pretty well, and yeah, it looks like a bit more paint has rubbed off on the inside of his finger there. So I won't be trying to put that in his hand anytime soon. And finally, you get the torch, which looks awesome. Rusted, metal, you know, really nice sculpt. And the flame looks really nice as well. It's done nicely where it's a bit more thick here, but more transparent at the top. Looks very, very cool. As you can see there, just give you a nice 360. Awesome. Now that I'm done with that, what I'm going to do is put everything to the side, bring the figure in a bit closer, and I'm just going to demonstrate the swapping out ability first. The heads come off really easily. I wouldn't recommend you pull really hard. I'd recommend you just like twist and pull. Same thing, I wouldn't recommend you push really hard, just like kind of push and twist. There you go, it's on. Because if you do it too hard, you know, you might accidentally throw the figure across the room because it really doesn't take that much to get it off. Same with the hands, as you can see here. Twist and pull, not too hard. Well, you got to put a little bit of force, but you know. There we go. As you can see, I nearly did it then as well, and I wasn't doing that much force. I nearly threw it across the room. Same deal, you know, twist and push. There you go. That's pretty cool. Talking about the detail on him now that I've got the head on that I prefer to have him displayed with, it looks awesome. I mean, just look at it. I think this is the first figure they've done, excluding their Comic Con exclusives, because there is a Comic Con version of this that's all dirty. I think it's from Comic Con anyway. This is the first time they've had to do like quite a lot of shading and stuff. Like they had a bit of shading on Batman's utility belt, but the majority of it was cloth, so you never really got to see the full extent of what they could do with paints. And you know what? It looks awesome. It looks like it's come out of the comic book. And I'm glad that they've made these more comic book looking rather than the film. Although the film is pretty good. I did enjoy it. Yeah, it looks awesome as you can see there with all the nice shadowing, especially like in the creases of his muscles and everything. It looks awesome. Same thing here on his head with like his brow. They've got like a nice kind of dark effect on the creases. And it just looks awesome. You got his belt here, along with his studded. I don't think these are bracelets. It almost looks like he's had surgery to have them there. But I don't know. Comment down below. You tell me. Are they bracelets? Do they really stick out of his hands? I don't know. You know, he's got his belt, which looks a bit odd, really. I would have thought he would have went for spikes here as well. But instead, he's went for some like Dalek-style bumps. So, oh well. Goes all the way around. The trousers are actually cloth, as you can see here, which it doesn't look like cloth, does it? It actually looks plastic. Because with some 6-inch scale action figures, I would say cloth is the best, not the best way to go. Especially the Black Series. If you look at their Star Wars, the Black Series, that is. If you look at their Darth Vader or their Episode 4 Luke Skywalker with that horrible tunic, yeah, they did not do a good job, Hasbro there. But MEZCO have done an outstanding job here. There's a little bit of a loose thread there. It was a bit longer and I cut it. I'm probably going to leave that the way it is, as I don't want to go too close to the material. But yeah, that's the only QC issue I've had, minus that scuff there. So yeah, 2 quality control issues. Not bad at all. Looks awesome. His toenails. As you can see, his left foot has toenails that stick out further than his right foot. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I prefer the way they look on his left foot, as they just look more menacing, really. Once again, you've got the spikes coming out of his ankles, which looks very cool. These trousers can't be removed. As you can see, they're stitched along there. They're pretty much skin tight, and I think they're glued underneath this, because this part isn't actually connected to the trousers. This whole like kind of groin area is connected to the joints for his torso articulation. So that's pretty cool. You've also got a lot of veins going along here, as you can see there, especially on his feet. It just looks awesome, absolutely fantastic. Nipples, of course. Yep. I saw this really funny video with the guys over at MEZCO. I think it was Toy Pizza, and they said when with this line they weren't going to like skimp and scrape. Scrape. If something could be articulated, they would have it articulated. And then someone said articulated nipples for this figure, and that made me laugh. Of course, they're not articulated, but they do look awesome. They're also very pointy. So was every point on this figure, which does make posing a little bit difficult, but more on that later. The head, if we go on to articulation, can look up about that far, but you can lift it up and like put it on like that, half it. I believe Sharmus Prime came up with that term. So you know, you can do that whole thing when he looks up at the tank. Same for looking down, you can half it. Maybe you can put a little bit of blue tack in there so you can get it even more halved. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can turn to the side. You have, I think these are called butterfly joints, where there's a joint inside the torso section there, which allows you to move this arm forward and back and up and down, almost like he's shrugging. You can lift them up about that far there. They can go all the way around and do a 360. Same for the bicep here. You've got a nice double bend here, but I'd recommend caution so that you don't, poke yourself, or even worse, break it off. Because the figure's safety is, more important, at least to me anyway. You've got a hinged wrist, which also swivels. And if I just take this hand off, I'm not overly fond of the way they've done this, as you can see here. If I zoom in, can it pick it up? Yeah, only half of the joint is actually connected. That's so it can hinge forward and backwards. That looks a bit weak to me. and it's very stiff, so moving it would apply a lot of pressure on this right hand side as it's not connected to the left hand side, and I imagine that could break pretty easily. So I'd rather they would have had like a solid peg there, as that is worrisome. But this isn't a toy, I'm not going to be playing with it, so it shouldn't be a problem, so I don't think you should worry too much. You've got like kind of an ab crunch. This is the ascent. This is essentially how far he can look back without using this bottom bit. This is how far he can look forward. Once again, I'm trying not to use the bottom bit because this part also articulates, so that's pretty cool. You know, you can go side to side, but if you move it that way, it looks stupid. So what I'd recommend is, because this also moves forward and backwards, I'm not sure if you can pick it up there. I recommend you push it back as far as you can, line it up, and it will look fine. Honestly, you most of the time won't even notice it's a joint because it blends in with his muscles. It looks much better in person than it does on camera, because you can still tell it's a joint, but on camera that is, but in person it looks excellent. Got a six pack as well. This bottom section also moves forward, back, left, right. So if you want to turn it to the side, turn it from this section. Maybe that's why MEZCO added this waist swivel as well, because, you know, if you turn it from the top it looks ridiculous, but you know, this way you can at least turn the figure and keep everything in line, which is cool. I'll move the arms back. The legs can kick forward, but are a little bit restricted by the tight trousers. They can go back about that much. They can go out to the side about that much, so you can do some of the kick scenes, you know, as he does kick Batman around. Double bend in the knee, you can see there, very nice, double jointed. And does he have a swivel in the... I'm not sure if he does have one up there, to be honest. Obviously I can't tell without taking his trousers off and now doing the figure, so I'm not going to do it. And it looks like he has a swivel here in his shin section, but I, for the life of me, can't get it to turn without almost, you see there's already left a mark, without essentially bleeding myself to death, cutting myself on this. I haven't cut myself yet, but I probably will if I try and do it more. It looks like it turns, but so does the foot, so I'm not going to bother trying to get that to turn. I probably could with a hairdryer, but I'm not going to bother. The feet go down about that far, they can kick up that far, and there is a slight ankle pivot, which is good. I was surprised because it doesn't look like it can pivot, but it does, as the joint is really well hidden up there. Very well hidden joint, and it looks awesome. So, that is pretty much everything. This figure is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I absolutely adore the line of figures that MEZCO are doing. Their Batmans, their new Dawn of Justice ones. What else have they got going on? They've got like Hanna-Barbera, Frankenstein, Universal Monsters. Mainly comic book is what they do now. You know, like comic book interpretations of characters, whether it's Captain America, Daredevil, Punisher, Spider-Man, Deadpool. Who else they got? Who else they got in their lineup? Shazam, Flash, Professor Zoom. Oops, the hand fell off. I'm not sure if they've got a Green Lantern. I know they have a Green Arrow, which also looks cool, and it's their interpretation of the comic books, and they look fantastic. They really do. I'm going to be bled dry by this line. As I don't have enough room for Hot Toys, I don't have enough funds for Hot Toys, unless I start cooking crystal meth and rent an RV, but of course that's illegal. Here we have the figure on the display stand. This is how I display it. As you can see, it looks pretty damn cool, as you can see there. It is fantastic. I absolutely love this figure, as you can see here. I'll just try and show you all of it. Move his crowbar to the side, it's still in the shots. That is awesome. Kind of looks like he's at a rock concert, you know, chanting, singing along to his favourite song. But you know, I think that's a cool pose, so that's why I put him in that. And I was inspired to do this pose by two of the photos on the back of the package. And they were this one, with it kind of raised up, and this one with the clenched fist, you know. That was my inspiration, and then instead of having it with his arms down, I decided to have it with his arm raised, you know, like he's saying, "Fight mutants, bring me the Batman's head," or something like that, I don't know. Speaking of which, if they do a 2-pack of the mutants, I'm going to have to buy them and put one on either side, You know, Don and Rob. That'd be pretty cool. Lita Nasty. Batman Dusted. You know, the stupid way they talk, licking legs, chicken legs, whatever it is they say. I remember when I first read that comic, I was so confused. And then when I watched the film, I was equally as confused. But anyway, that's a story for another day. This is an absolutely amazing action figure, and for £68, you know, you can probably get it for about 65 online. I got it from my local Forbidden Planet. You can't go wrong. 65 is a little bit more than I would have liked to have paid for this guy. Me personally, I would have liked to have paid like just under a little bit over 60, you know, maybe 62 or something, as he doesn't come with as many accessories as the Batman one does. But at the end of the day, it is awesome. I'd highly recommend you pick this up. I'd highly recommend you invest in maybe getting one or two of the figures from the line. I mean, they've even got Star Trek coming up, and my god, if they do Next Generation, they are essentially writing themselves a check for millions of dollars, because Next Generation is probably the most popular Star Trek there is. I personally prefer the original series, but MEZCO are going to be rolling in it. Yep, show you the figure one last time. It is absolutely fantastic. If you see him, pick it up. If you're a bit skeptical, maybe try and get a different MEZCO 112 figure first. A Batman, a Judge Dredd, a Captain America is available now. The Power Suit Batman is also available. Try and get your hands on one of them. Chances are you'll fall in love and want more. Because I originally thought I'd only get one. I now have 4. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Sorry that I haven't been doing that many videos lately. I'm going to try and work to do as many more as I can. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching, guys. Thank you to all my subscribers. Take care.